And you're welcome. It's time for us to take the dailies and find out what exactly you will be meeting if you choose to pick one of them up. I have Winfrey here with me. Thank you for joining, Winfrey.
Yeah.
You were a bit surprised. You thought I was going to call somebody else's name. I don't get it.
No, not at all.
Welcome. We've got a couple of papers this morning. The Guardian, The Nation, Daily Trust, Punch. We're going to be taking a look at the headlines on each of these. Let me start by taking The Guardian, if you don't mind. Or, would you like to go first? Ladies first, they say.
All right, that's fine. So for here, The Guardian, we have FX crisis. For the major headlines, we have Nigeria falling out of top 4 African economies on weak currency. I'll say I expected that sooner. We have that on page 6, and here we have infographics, and it says Nigeria's nominal GDP in billion.
Per billion,
dollars.
yeah.
Right, so at the right of that, we have emerging prospects, challenges of state police amid legislative traction. So we have that on page 4. Beneath that, we have ASU warns of imminent strike over alleged insensitivity by the federal government. So we have that on page 5. Below that, we have 65 CSOs withdraw as NLC dares federal government mobilizes for nationwide protest. We have that on page 6. To the right of that, we have Stop Blame Game adopts Argentina's reforms, Atiku tells Tinubu. And we have that on page 3. Below that, beside the image of the Lagos State Governor, amidst others, we have conditional cash transfers to resume amid probe. We have that on page 3. Below, we have Nigeria hopeful of positive outcomes at WTO, says Minister. We have that on page 5. Climate change, Lagos generates 13 tons of waste daily, home to 22 million generators, says experts. We have that on page 7.
That actually caught my eye when I saw the Daily, the Guardian actually. I mean, so much waste from Lagos, especially with the generators. I didn't even think about that. How many generators? If there are a million bicycles in China, or a billion bicycles in China, we've got 22 million generators.
Yeah.
Imagine the amount of
I think we have more. I don't think that's
air
correct.
pollution. It must be more. They're not counting the ones
It reminds me of, during the AFCON, remember the joke?
Yeah, exactly, that one. Let's move on now to The Nation. Not much on The Nation this morning, but let's take these. Jimo Ibrahim trains unit leaders ahead on the APC government primary, says he's ready for any form of primary. Senator Taiwo Yele and also retired Honorable Oloye Logun joined campaign. At the top for The Nation. Pressure mounts on NLC over planned protests. No going back, says Ajero. If you remember, only just last week they had called off one.
Yeah.
Yet again, it seems to be the only way to go for the NLC. Another strike being proposed. Dangote, Soludo, Abiodun, Elumelu, Rwane, others in Tinubu's economic team. That's another header. That's all from The Nation newspaper. Quickly move on now to the Daily Trust. Qatar backtracks, hosts Nigeria Business Forum. So there was much talk about this during the weekend about the president not being able to visit Qatar. And it seemed rather embarrassing for the sovereignty of Nigeria to be rejected. And that was a term that was used, rejected from Qatar. However, it was made clear with further information that it was a timeline scheduling problem. He had proposed to visit on the 2nd and 3rd, and they had other commitments on those days. But now, however, he is definitely still making that visit. So, hey, it's not as bad as we thought. It was just a scheduling conflict. Still from the Daily Trust newspaper, Nigerians, northern senators welcome ECOWAS lifting of sanctions, especially over Niger. I was talking about this just this morning regarding how that affects our economy and how it might have seemed a bit too hasty. A bit more room for diplomacy, people are calling for, and how it might affect us going forward. It already affected our air travel, where prices for air travel had to skyrocket to almost by over 100% hike.
Yeah.
Because of the circumnavigation that they had to make around Niger after they blocked their airspace from Nigerian flights. So I think it seems like a good take. Let's have more talks. Let's be a bit more civil and also diplomatic when it comes to these little nuances that will affect the Nigerian economy. Hardship, NLC mobilizes for protests despite FG's warning. We saw that one in a previous paper. And Gaza truce talks resume in Doha. A chart here showing Nigeria reaping the benefits of reform. There are a couple good numbers on there. You might want to take a look at that one. And it's all on the Daily Trust front page. What other paper do you have, Winfrey?
Right here I have the Punch. Now for the major headlines, we have NLC protest. Definitely this is a situation that is going on, and a lot of conversation around it. Presidency police issue fresh warning as 65 groups pull out. We have that on page 2. Beneath that, for the riders, we have don't disrupt commercial activities, vehicular movements. Illegal CP tells protesters. Protest illegal, says presidency. CSOs, NLC alleges government's plots to disrupt demonstration. To the top paper there on the left, Forex crisis threatens modular refineries, 25 billion naira daily crude input. We have that on page 23. To the right of that, we have Punch photo exhibition begins Wednesday, 50th anniversary, page 9. Governors Elumelu Dangote make Tinubu's economic advisory panel, page 22. Beneath the major headlines there, we have BDC operators plan mergers, fault mandatory deposits. We have that on page 13. Right of that, port terminal operator, dock worker arrested over 1044.29 kg cocaine. We have that on page 5. To the right of that, we have food smuggling customs to man. 1,500 illegal routes with drones. Yeah.
That seems rather ambitious, if you ask me. 1,500 routes to smuggle anything you want through Nigerian borders, and 1,500 drones manning these places. I'm wondering, somebody's really going to be in good business and trust when it comes to piloting these drones. I'm just saying. But whatever the case, hoping that this actually helps the situation, although there have been calls for more open borders so that we can have more transactions between Nigeria, Benin, and other countries that are surrounding us. That might ease the suffering that we're going through, they say. That's as much as we can take for the headlines. However, thank you very much for joining me, Winfrey.
Thank you for having me.
Let's move on now to the kitchen where we have a brand new chef. It's a brand new day, and of course, I would like some brand new breakfast. Titi, please, what are we having for breakfast this morning?